When discussing classic literature that explores the afterlife, Dante's Inferno often emerges as a prominent example. This crucial segment of Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy intricately navigates through hell, purgatory, and heaven, offering more than just a literary journey. Inferno is the first part of Dante's poems, which includes Purgatorio and Paradiso. However, it is his descent into hell that has resonated deeply with readers through the ages. Authored in the early 14th century, Dante's work transcends its time, presenting insights into the human psyche that are as relevant now as they were then. As we dive into Inferno, we are met not only with the striking punishments of hell, but also a narrative rich in symbolism and allegorical meaning. The poem starts on the night before Good Friday in the year 1300, which falls on March 24th or April 7th. Dante, the narrator and also the main character, is 35 years old at this time. He finds himself in a dark forest, having lost his way from the right path of life. Trying to escape, he tries to climb a mountain but is stopped by three animals: a leopard or leopon, a lion, and a she-wolf. These beasts are symbols for different kinds of sins that lead people into various parts of hell. Scholars have different views on what each animal represents, but they generally agree that they stand for major types of sin. It's now the morning of Good Friday, and Dante is in despair, driven back into the darkness by these animals. At this low point, he meets someone who says he lived during Julius Caesar's time and under Emperor Augustus. This person is Virgil, the famous Roman poet known for writing the Aeneid. Virgil becomes Dante's guide, starting their journey together. As they begin their descent, Dante and Virgil approach the gates of hell, inscribed with the ominous words, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." Inside, he hears the screams of the uncommitted. These are souls who never chose a side in life. They weren't good or evil, but only cared about themselves. Dante spots someone who made the Great Refusal, which is hinted to be Pope Celestine III. His decision brought a lot of trouble to the church. Also, there are those who didn't pick a side in the rebellion of angels. These souls are stuck. They're not really in hell, but aren't free either. They're naked, running after a banner that keeps changing, showing their constant chase for self-interest. They're also chased by wasps and hornets that sting them, and at their feet are maggots and worms, symbolizing their guilt and the ugliness of sin. After this, Dante and Virgil get to the ferry that will take them across the river Acheron to hell proper. The ferryman, Charon, initially doesn't want to let Dante on board because he's alive. Virgil convinces Charon to take them by saying that Dante's journey is divinely willed. The cries of the damned souls entering Charon's boat are a sharp contrast to the blessed souls' joyful singing in Purgatorio. Dante doesn't remember the trip across Acheron because he faints and only wakes up when they reach the other side. Dante regains consciousness to discover he has crossed the Acheron River. He first encounters the realm of Limbo. Here, Dante finds souls who led virtuous lives but were never baptized or lived before the time of Christ. Despite their virtues, they are denied heaven. This includes notable figures like Homer, Socrates, and Aristotle. They are not subjected to physical torture, but their punishment is an eternal yearning, a sorrow for the divine grace they can never attain. Lust. After leaving Limbo, Dante and Virgil enter the second circle, the start of the true punishments of hell. This circle is where those overcome by lust are condemned. Unlike Limbo, the second circle is tumultuous, devoid of any light or clarity. Here they encounter Minos, the infernal judge. In a blend of his mythological role and new duties in hell, Minos hears the confessions of the damned and assigns them to their fates. He coils his tail around himself a number of times that corresponds to the circle of hell the soul is sent to. This process ensures each soul admits to their sins and accepts their place in hell. Unlike the others, Dante doesn't have to confess. Virgil, asserting their divine mission, leads them onwards. In this circle, the souls punished for lust are trapped in a violent storm, endlessly tossed by fierce winds. This mirrors their earthly desires, where they let passion control reason. Dante views lust as a mutual indulgence, less heinous than other sins, which is reflected in the comparatively less severe nature of this punishment. Among these tormented souls, Dante sees many historical figures known for their passionate affairs, such as Semiramis, Dido, Cleopatra, Helen of Troy, and Achilles. Gluttony. In the third circle of hell, Dante encounters the souls of the gluttonous. Here they suffer in a disgusting, putrid slush, constantly bombarded by a foul, icy rain. This disgusting scene, described as a great storm of putrefaction, is their punishment for letting their appetites overpower their reason. In this circle, gluttony is depicted not just as overeating, but as an all-consuming addiction that debases human dignity. Cerberus, the monstrous three-headed guardian of this circle, viciously attacks the damned souls. Described as the great worm, he mauls and flays the gluttonous as they wail in agony. To pass safely, Virgil stuffs mud into Cerberus's mouths, symbolizing the feeding of their insatiable appetites that led them here. This circle represents a degradation from mutual to solitary self-indulgence. Unlike the lustful who are swept together by the storm, the gluttonous are isolated in the mire, blind to those around them. This punishment reflects their selfish and empty pursuit of pleasure in life, highlighting the dark, lonely nature of excessive indulgence. In this dismal setting, Dante meets Ciacco, a fellow Florentine known for his gluttony. Ciacco, whose name means hog, prophesies the political upheavals in Florence. He foretells the expulsion of the White Guelphs, Dante's political faction, by the Black Guelphs, an event aided by Pope Boniface VIII. This prophecy, though set in the future for Dante's journey in 1300, had already occurred by the time Dante wrote the poem. Ciacco's appearance and prophecy connect the realm of the gluttonous with the turbulent political climate of Dante's Florence. His prediction not only foreshadows Dante's own exile, but also shows how Inferno intertwines personal, moral, and political themes. This circle, with its focus on the consequences of gluttony, reveals the deeper nature of sin as something that goes beyond mere physical indulgence to the realm of spiritual and moral decay. Greed. In the fourth circle of hell, Dante and Virgil encounter the guardian known as Plutus, the deity of wealth in classical mythology. This figure is distinct from the ruler of the underworld, often confused with him. Plutus confronts the duo with a mysterious and menacing phrase, but Virgil ensures Dante's safety, protecting him from this daunting figure. This circle punishes those who had an inappropriate relationship with material wealth. It's divided into two groups, the avaricious or miserly, which includes clergymen, popes, and cardinals who hoarded wealth, and the prodigal, who recklessly squandered their resources. The punishment for both is to joust with enormous weights, symbolizing the burden of their greed or wastefulness. This punishment reflects their earthly behaviors, hoarders asking, "Why do you hoard?" and the wasteful retorting, "Why do you waste?" in a futile, eternal conflict. This sin of incontinence relates to lust and gluttony, the sins of the previous circles. What began as mutual indulgence has degenerated into selfishness, now manifesting as a conflict between opposing but equally selfish desires. This antagonism is perfectly captured in the image of the two groups eternally clashing over their burdens. Virgil uses this opportunity to discuss the nature of fortune, who raises and diminishes the fortunes of nations and people. He describes her as shifting those empty goods from nation unto nation, clan to clan, highlighting the transient nature of worldly wealth and power. This discourse on fortune fills a narrative gap, as the souls in this circle are too engrossed in their punishment to engage with Dante and Virgil. Their obsession has stripped them of their individuality, rendering them unrecognizable and symbolic of the dehumanizing nature of their sins. Wrath. The fifth circle presents a dark and pungent landscape, the river Styx, where wrath and sullenness are punished. On its surface, the wrathful souls fight each other in an endless, violent battle, while the sullen lie beneath the water, choking in their own anger. The contrast between the active aggression of the wrathful and the passive bitterness of the sullen is a vivid illustration of anger's dual nature. Heresy. Descending deeper into the sixth circle, Dante enters the realm where heresy is punished. This domain is for heretics who denied the immortality of the soul and other core Christian tenets. Here, heretics are trapped in flaming tombs, a symbolic reflection of their own misguided beliefs and the spiritual death they embraced by denying fundamental Christian doctrines. Dante engages with several heretics, including Farinata degli Uberti, leading to profound discussions on fate, free will, and the impact of heresy. Before descending to the seventh circle, Dante notices a tomb marked for Pope Anastasius II. However, it's suggested that Dante might have confused this pope with the Byzantine emperor, Anastasius I. Here, Virgil pauses to explain the nature of the lower circles of hell, where sins of violence and fraud are punished. He references Aristotle's ideas to argue that legitimate wealth comes from nature and human effort, making usury to be seen in the next circle, a sin against both, and by extension, a form of blasphemy against God. Virgil also uses his knowledge of the stars to determine the time. He observes the position of the Great Bear constellation and the rising of Pisces, indicating it's about 4 a.m. on Holy Saturday, April 9th. This attention to celestial bodies underscores the connection between the physical and spiritual in Dante's journey. Violence. In the seventh circle of hell, Dante and Virgil find the violent divided into 3 rings. They reach this circle from the sixth after a challenging descent over a collapsed cliff, evading the Minotaur, symbolizing the violence and bestiality of this circle. Virgil cleverly distracts the Minotaur to ensure their safe passage. He explains that the ruins they see resulted from an earthquake at Christ's death, also referenced earlier in the poem. Ring 1. Violence against others. In the first ring, those who committed violence against others, like murderers and tyrants, are submerged in the phlegathon, a boiling river of blood and fire. Their depth in the river corresponds to the severity of their sins. Centaurs, led by Chiron and Pholus, patrol this area, ensuring the sinners stay at their designated depths. Dante sees historical figures like Alexander the Great and tyrants from Sicily and the tyrant Ezzelino III da Romano, among others. The river leads them to a ford where they see more tyrants, including Attila the Hun, symbolizing the widespread impact of their violence. Ring 2. Violence against self. The second ring is the Wood of the Suicides, where those who took their own lives are transformed into thorny trees, tormented by harpies. These trees can only speak when broken, symbolizing the irreversible choice of suicide. Dante encounters Pietro della Vigna here, learning his tragic story of downfall and false accusations. This area reflects Dante's view of suicide as a sin against the body, leaving these souls in a state of withered sterility. Unique among the dead, these souls won't be resurrected in human form but will remain as trees bearing their own corpses. Ring 3. Violence against God and nature. This realm area is a desolate plain of burning sand with flames raining down, reminiscent of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The blasphemers who showed violence against God are stretched on the burning sand, enduring the intense heat as a symbol of their defiance against the divine. Nearby, the Sodomites, representing violence against nature, are condemned to run in endless circles on the hot sands, reflecting their aimless and unnatural actions. The usurers, guilty of violence against art and thus indirectly against God, are seen crouching and weeping, their punishment signifying the sterility and unnaturalness of their greed. Among these damned souls, Dante encounters Capaneus, a blasphemous figure from Greek mythology, who continues his defiance even in hell. The scene is also traversed by the phlegathon, a boiling river of blood, linking the various forms of violence punished in this circle. This part of hell vividly portrays the barren consequences of sins against natural and divine laws, emphasizing the destructive nature of such actions. Malbolge or evil trenches. This place in hell is dedicated to the fraudulent and malicious. This circle is structured like an amphitheater with 10 concentric trenches, each punishing a form of simple fraud. Level 1. Panderers and seducers. These sinners march in opposite directions, whipped by demons, Notable figures include Venedico Cacianemico, who sold his sister, and Jason, who seduced women for his gains. Level 2. Flatterers. They abused language to manipulate others and are now steeped in excrement, representing their flatteries. Level 3. Simoniacs. Those who sold church offices and favors are punished upside down in baptismal-like fonts, with flames burning their feet. Pope Nicholas III, condemned for simony, is one of the tormented. Level 4. Sorcerers. Fortune-tellers and diviners have their heads twisted backward and must walk backward, symbolizing their attempts to see the future and the distortion of God's law. Level 5. Barators. Corrupt politicians are immersed in boiling pitch, symbolizing their dark, sticky deals and guarded by demons. Level 6. Hypocrites. They trudge wearing leaden, gilded robes, symbolizing their deceitful appearances and the weight of their hypocrisy. Level 7. Thieves. Pursued and bitten by snakes and lizards, their identity is constantly stolen, reflecting their thievery in life. Level 8. Counselors of fraud. Fraudulent advisors like Ulysses and Diomedes are hidden in individual flames, representing their misuse of their intellect for deceit. Level 9. Sowers of discord. These sinners are mutilated, symbolizing their divisive actions in life. Level 10. Falsifiers. Falsifiers of various kinds suffer from diseases and afflictions, reflecting the societal disease they spread. The 8th circle ends with the central well leading to the 9th circle, guarded by classical and biblical giants symbolizing pride and spiritual flaws. Among them is Antaeus, who lowers Dante and Virgil to the final level of hell, marking the transition to the last circle where treachery is punished. Treachery. In the 9th circle of hell, Cocytus, Dante encounters sinners guilty of treachery frozen in a lake. This circle is divided into 4 rings, each punishing a different form of betrayal, against family, community, guests, and lords. Ring 1. Caina. Named after Cain, this ring punishes traitors to their kin. Sinners like Alessandro and Napoleone degli Alberti, who killed each other over inheritance, are partially submerged, allowing some protection from the freezing winds. Ring 2. Antenora. Named after Antenor, a Trojan betrayer, this level houses traitors to their country. Dante meets Bocca degli Abati, who betrayed Florence, among others. Sinners here cannot bend their necks and have their heads above the ice. Ring 3. Ptolemaia. Named after Ptolemy, who murdered his guests, this area is for traitors to their guests. Sinners like Fra Alberigo, who murdered his dinner guests, lie with their tears frozen in their eye sockets, denying even the comfort of weeping. Ring 4. Judeca. Named for Judas Iscariot, this ring contains traitors to their lords and benefactors. It is utterly silent. All sinners are fully encapsulated in ice, twisted in various positions, making communication impossible. In each ring, the nature of the ice imprisonment reflects the depth of coldness and betrayal in the sinner's actions. This circle, the deepest and furthest removed from God's love and warmth, represents the ultimate punishment for the gravest sin in Dante's moral structure: treachery. And then we have the center of hell. This is where Dante encounters Satan, trapped in Cocytus, the 9th circle. Lucifer, once the fairest angel, rebelled against God and was cast out of heaven. He is depicted as a giant beast with 3 faces of different colors, symbolizing a perversion of the Holy Trinity and representing control over the 3 human races. His 6 bat-like wings generate an icy wind that further imprisons him in ice. Each of Satan's mouths is eternally chewing on a notable traitor. The left and right mouths contain Brutus and Cassius, betrayers of Julius Caesar, symbolizing treason against secular authority. In the central mouth is Judas Iscariot, the apostle who betrayed Christ, suffering the most gruesome punishment, representing treason against God. Around 6 p.m. on Holy Saturday, Dante and Virgil begin their escape by climbing down Satan's body. As they pass through the Earth's center and emerge in the southern hemisphere, Dante is initially confused by the apparent reversal of direction. Virgil explains the time difference due to their geographical shift, and the displacement of land and sea caused by Lucifer's fall, creating the mountain of purgatory in the southern hemisphere opposite Jerusalem. They ascend a narrow chasm and emerge before dawn on Easter Sunday, symbolizing the journey from despair and damnation to hope and resurrection, and preparing for their ascent of the mountain of purgatory. This concludes the journey of the first book. If you're interested in exploring part 2 about purgatory, hit the like button and let me know in the comments section.